Reply about the 14th Amendment. April 27, 2020 by Anna von Reitz. Apparently, one of my translators got the wrong link to this particular snippet from the Congressional Record, most likely went to the House discussion instead of the Senate or the final combined committee. I am absolutely sick of chasing the cheese for people who seem blissfully unaware of how complex congressional records are or how they are constantly manipulated, renumbered, repaged, and re-annotated to obscure the juicy parts, such as this clip from 1967 defining citizen of the United States. A citizen of the United States is a civilly dead entity operating as a co-trustee and co-beneficiary of the PCT Public Charitable Trust, the constructive cestui vi Trust of U.S. Inc. under the 14th Amendment, which upholds pays the debt of the USA and U.S., Inc. Congressional Record, June 13, 1967, pp. 15641–15646. Pay close attention. The 14th Amendment was adopted as a by-law amendment of the original Scottish Commercial Corporation that usurped upon us immediately following the Civil War and operated as the United States of America, Incorporated, from 1868 to 1907. The Constitution they published in 1868 as the Constitution of the United States of America was in fact a cleverly disguised attempt to legally enclose the earlier Constitution of the same name and convert it for use as the Articles of Incorporation for the aforementioned Scottish Commercial Corporation. As a result, for the purposes of that organization and their Articles of Incorporation deceitfully mislabeled as a constitution, the amendments are in fact by-law amendments, so did not require ratification by the states. That's why when you look for evidence of ratification by the states for the 14th Amendment onward, you find that none of these amendments were ever ratified by our states of the Union, because they weren't actual amendments to any actual constitution. Just more phony look-alike, sound-alike semantic deceits and Templar bullshit. The Board of Directors, the members of the Rump Congress, simply voted on it, and since they were keen to collect war reparations from the municipal citizens of the United States, they set up the 14th Amendment as a mechanism to expedite the process of collection by predefining these 14th Amendment citizens as guilty debtors and as criminals, both. The British territorial government sided with the North, and the Pope's municipal government sided with the South. The Scottish Commercial Corporation intent on collecting war reparations after armed hostilities ended redefined everyone not directly in its employ as presumed enemy combatants, citizens of the United States within the meaning of their precious 14th so-called amendment, and prosecuted everyone as debtors, criminals, and fugitives from justice already condemned, and applied this scheme whether or not you were ever actually a municipal citizen of the United States. They used this despicable set-up as an excuse to mischaracterize Americans who were never municipal citizens of the United States and to extract war reparations from us when we never had anything to do with their filthy self-propagated civil war. And they never disclosed what they were doing to the public, either, so unless you were extraordinarily well informed and knew what they were presuming about you, and objected to it appropriately, their carpetbagger courts, then, as now, simply rolled over the victims of this deplorable, criminal activity on our shores, and pillaged and plundered the individual municipal public trusts set up under our names to expedite this fraudulent plundering. When the Scottish Commercial Corporation DBA, the United States of America, Incorporated, went bankrupt in 1907, their Articles of Incorporation, including their phony 14th Amendment, ceased to have any meaning or authority in any context at all, but that did not keep the politicians and bar attorneys from continuing to use this defunct set of presumptions to pillage and plunder under conditions of deceit and color of law. Ask yourself, what possible authority a by-law amendment to the Articles of Incorporation of a defunct Scottish commercial corporation, a corporation that went bankrupt in 1907, could possibly have in 1967? And the answer is? None. Their 14th Amendment is as meaningless as a dry fart in a high wind. This little snippet quoted above from 1967 proceedings, is the admission by the federal rats that they were still operating under this fraud scheme 60 years after all possible basis for it, bad and invalid and lawfully and legally unconscionable as that basis was, collapsed. Absolutely every prosecution brought against every American mischaracterized as a municipal citizen of the United States under these false registrations and false legal presumptions from 1868 to 1907 were nothing but unbridled fraud, racketeering, piracy, pillaging, and plundering exercised under color of law by the usurping foreign Scottish commercial corporation. And after 1907, all such prosecutions brought against all such STRAWMEN were completely unjustifiable by any stretch of the imagination. Even people who actually were citizens of the United States shouldn't have been prosecuted using these mechanisms after 1907, but as you can learn from reading the Congressional Record, they were still milking this criminal constructive fraud scheme in 1967. They were still milking it and employing it as of last year. They will go on using any excuse to milk and bilk that you will allow, as long as you put up with it, but they deserve to recognized for what they are and prosecuted as marauders and pirates under international law, instead. Read my lips, there is no 14th Amendment that ever applied to any American who wasn't a federal civil service employee or dependent, and since 1907, there shouldn't have been any claim against federal civil service employees or dependents, either, though you can see that as of 1967, this fraud and all the false legal presumptions were still being employed. Everything that these vermin collected from everyone was illegal. It was all collected under conditions of fraud and deceit and non-disclosure, and all done under color of law. And they've gotten away with it on our shores for 150 years. No wonder they think we are too stupid to breathe. And here you are, apparently still sucking up the idea that there was ever any valid 14th Amendment that applied to us, still going along with the idea that the Constitution published by these yahoos in 1868 as Articles of Incorporation was valid, all of it? It's like a joke nobody gets. A very bad joke, indeed. Why don't I sell you all some Florida real estate? It's only underwater half the year. If you enjoy having Anna's latest articles made into videos, please consider making a purchase from Ed's website sacredintuitiveelements.com. Thank you.